The universe is singing a new song.
Yes.
Never heard by man
Isn't that amazing?
before. The song of coming rain.
What's the Aspen Institute?
Listen, the world is singing a new song, a song we've never sung before. But change comes. It comes in the blink of an eye,
You want it louder?
the way a leopard emerges. At first unseen, silently, before the naysayers perceive it. Stealth, suddenly, she is there, out in the open, free, as she always was. The Nepalese have a traditional belief that Buddhist monks transform themselves into snow leopards in order to slip across borders unnoticed, to search for medicine in Tibet, medicine of transformation. Everyone knows what it is to transform. There's not a single woman in this room who doesn't know what it means to rise out of the ashes. And I know there are men in this room who know what it means as well. It comes from suffering, and everyone, women, men, children, you in the audience here today have known what it is to burn inside the way those buildings burned on September 11th, to burn for something real, to burn to give life meaning. Maybe it's that fire, that spark present at the core of everyone that brought you here today, that brings you to want change, just like me. So let's not waste this precious time together, because no one person can bring about the kind of change we're talking about. Systemic change in human relationships, and therefore systemic change in the way we practice diplomacy, in the way we move together as nations, as humanity. Let us not fumble in pessimism and in the mind's trickery, that flimsy ego, that naysayer with that which seeks power over mission and doubts what is possible. I have learned from my students that anything is possible. Those young graduate students around the world, some of whom are in this room today, are ready to sing that song that has never been heard before. They are embracing transformation. Why? Because they know that it is the medicinal remedy required to address the root causes of our conflicts and global challenges. This year, it is our honor to launch Women Forward International in partnership with the United Nations Institute for Training and Research. Together, we are enabling Stanford University students under the leadership of Dr. Frank Fukuyama to work with NATO to come up with new ways to stop sex trafficking in Eastern Europe. Columbia University students to team up with ProMujer to turn around impact investors from a pattern of only investing in male-run businesses in Latin America, despite the positive returns resulting from investment in female-run businesses. Georgetown University students to expose and enable the vital role of Afghan women in the peace process in Afghanistan, which we will hear more about today. The students at Sciences Po in Paris, France, to enable women's collectives across French-speaking West Africa to join forces to increase their legal rights. The University of California, Berkeley students to carry out an impact assessment for a food redistribution nonprofit called White Pony Express that is of particular benefit to single mothers here in the United States. Harvard University students to build a much-needed business accelerator for women entrepreneurs in Mexico. Our client, the Ananda Group, is here today to share how that project, like our other projects, has impacted their work and contributes directly to fulfilling many of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. Women for It International will also feature National Defense University's Women, Peace and Security Essay winner at the Doha Forum in December. I want to thank our founding donor, the Embassy of the State of Qatar, for making all these projects possible. I have been inspired by Ambassador Michelle Altani and so many of its women diplomats whose desire to uplift women is clear and demonstrated by their own work, which is creative and genuine as they forge impressive careers within their foreign service and beyond. Thank you especially to Sarah El-Sadi, who will be speaking today. I also want to thank the Hearts Path Charitable Foundation and Marshall Millsap and our many other supporters here today. And I would like to thank my colleagues here at the Aspen Institute, President Dan Porterfield, Executive Vice President Elliot Gerson, all of my colleagues in the Global Innovators Group, who have enabled me to see the importance of our mission more clearly than ever and how it aligns with the true mission of the Aspen Institute. I would also like to thank my colleagues, Wesley Spencer, Women for It International's Intrepid Director of Arts, Partnerships, and Strategic Development. Would you please stand, Wesley? Sarah O'Day, who has given her, please stand, Sarah, who's given her passion and devotion to our launch this summer and fall. Our advisory committee, especially Lindsay Wozniak, our creative director, Ellis Pines, a pioneer in his field, expert sounding board, artist, and friend. Also, my deepest thanks to Dr. Alan Cohen for his most generous advice and support, his wife Barbara Cohen for her mentorship to our team, and to Mona and John Oswald, vital to taking the work of Women for It International to the next level as we forge our partnership with the United Nations. Taking things to the next level, that is what it is to rise out of the ashes. You lose everything if you are willing to do everything for your mission. And it is that very mission that pulls you up. It is the spark of an invincible flame that cannot be extinguished because it comes from here. In that secret confidence, in the power of your mission and the love you put into the hunt for a new world, you can stand up and say, it is time for real change. And that means educating our next generation of leaders to be conscious of the impact their actions have on everyone, including that half of the world that has lived for too many centuries at a disadvantage. A great sage once said, although the sense of equality is made the basis of many social and political ideals, the real conditions of rich cooperative life are fulfilled only when the bare idea of equality is replaced by the realization of the unity of all life. I speak Washington and I speak leopard. Those are two different languages, and one doesn't understand the other, and one must become the other. Because in truth, there is no real separation between political science and poetry, between Nepal and Tibet, between law and culture, between. We mostly know this. The uncanny part is that we imagine a society in which this separation exists. But just like language and words are never outside of the political and cultural context in which they are used, in which their meaning is historically and socially infused, and just as words present a bewitching conundrum in which we cannot arrive at it, that which we want to signify, that which is in and of itself, the practice of law and policymaking is always going to stand outside of the ring of justice because it is culturally contextualized. Call it law, call it policy, but something else is at play, at least for now. One surefire way to remove that facade, to acknowledge and come to terms with that discrepancy, and to expose its impact on human relationships is through art. One writer said, a writer's job is to speak the unspeakable, Art can reveal that which no one wants to talk about, or maybe cannot talk about in words. It can make us see the actual power structure at play. It makes us see the play, see the illusion, the false. And gender studies is nothing more than the study of power relationships. Perhaps that's why it's so controversial. The study of sexism opens the door to the understanding of all power relationships, says Dr. Monica Sharma. You end one ism, you end them all. So it is our business as practitioners of international relations to study, understand, and address so-called gender issues. All the way from the basic family unit up, to end violence in the world, we must end patriarchy, and art helps us do that. Art has traditionally been excluded from the study of politics and the social sciences. It's time to bring it back to its rightful place in education so that we can make progress. It is no accident that the theme of the launch of Women Forward International is the power of art to advance women, to advance humanity. Tell all the truth, but tell it slant, writes Emily Dickinson. She's talking about the truth. She knows there must be some cover over it, so it doesn't too brightly shine a light on our state of being, because it, truth, whether you believe it exists or not, burns away its observers, and burns at the core of our real identity. It, that which we call truth, is what can dissolve the barriers that make us separate. It does not impose separate identity, but rather a core of unity that can threaten the individual's sense of self. That is Dickinson's art. That is what art does. Societies protect and maintain these barriers that are in truth illusory because they are based on fleeting contextual history and relationships that can just as easily be altered in the blink of an eye. But instead of upholding a truth or truth, we have permitted the continuation of a facade imposed or that we impose in order to maintain a particular power dynamic that enables inequality to pose as justice. We live by unwritten codes. We have constitutions that we imagine to make us equal. Are we equal? Are we treated equally? Writers and artists and those who challenge social norms see the facade and play with and overturn and deconstruct it eternally in the most influential and transformative works of literature from as far back as we know until today. Tonight we will hear one of them. Plato describes how Socrates submits to an unjust law in order to bring awareness that things must change. If he had not submitted, no one would have questioned that facade of justice. Remember also Sophocles' play, Antigone. Antigone is condemned to death for burying her brother, a traitor to Thebes, against the wishes of their uncle, King Creon. But Antigone is obeying a higher law, and the king is demanding that she obey his law, which is tied to the kingdom, the law of the land, national identity. Should she be a good citizen, or should she be loyal to love? Sophocles makes us grapple with the weaknesses in our legal system and confront human imperfection translated into our practice of the law in general and our society's denial of the very fact that we do live in an imagined system in which we think practice of law equals justice. Take another example, Cassandra, the Greek princess of Troy, seen as a liar and a madwoman by her family because of Apollo's curse on her to always tell the truth in prophecy, but never to be believed. This was her punishment for refusing Apollo as a lover. The tragedy is told and retold by the Greeks, who I would contend were fascinated by the notion of a society's inability to accept the truth. Truth, that dazzling, radiant sun substance Emily Dickinson calls too bright for our infirm delight. And of course you have Portia's speech in Shakespeare's The Merchant of Venice. Portia points out that although the justice system in place might have the right to condemn a man for not paying his debt, the actual transaction in question, which involved his giving a pound of his own flesh as payment, opens once again the wound of imperfection in man's law. There is something better than the law, says Shakespeare. There is mercy. I translate that as love. Bell Hooks writes, a genuine feminist politics always brings us from bondage to freedom, from lovelessness to loving. There can be no love without justice. And mercy is that which opens the way to justice, not the practice of the law in its current state. In Shakespeare's famous courtroom speech, Portia explains, and earthly power doth then show likest gods, when mercy seasons justice. This seasoning of justice is Women Forward International's mission. I invite you to join us because it brings us closer to one another and to our true identity, which is to have no identity, not national or gender, but to live through the heart. By Shakespeare's standards, or the artist's standards, and his empathetic audience towards Portia and the man condemned, we become receptive to something better than dogma. And here we see the power of art to lift up policy, law, and international relations to enable them to meet their original mission. Tonight, in launching Women Forward International, we take things one step further. Out of the trees, into the open light. We chose a significant day, September 11th, because women's rights have been burned away, and women are most affected by extremist ideology. And extremist ideology is in every culture, and we are rising out of the ashes. My students asked, did the legal reforms in India bring about greater equality for women? Or was it the shift in consciousness or the culture change that occurred because of the overwhelming shock of a single incident of a violent act towards one woman on a bus? We all know that story, but we forget the power of stories and tuck them aside while we reel from them, and then tell ourselves a story that there is separation between story and life, between art and diplomacy. Are we ourselves locked inside the system, which is dependent on a certain stability we think is granted by behaving in a certain way, by our not daring to question whether we are equal? Must those who question whether we truly have equality always be labeled as rebels and radicals, as leopards? If you unravel the scarf that is meant to keep us warm in the winter, but is in fact restricting us, you find that we are not rebels, but snow leopards emerging, simply daring to look straight at the dazzling sun. Thank you.
Everyone's always looking in almost any context for some kind of a silver bullet. I don't generally believe in silver bullets. There are so many intractable problems in the world, but I think if there is a silver bullet anywhere, it's advancing women and girls.
The Academy is changing, and to the delight of so many faculty and students, this change is part of a worldwide trend in which all institutions are beginning to rediscover their reason for existence, one that allows us to positively transform the world. That is the work of our new initiative called Women Forward.
Women Forward International has brought us amazing possibility and real inspiration. I run this program here at Georgetown University that is designed to prepare the next generation of global leaders. These are young men and women who are committed to service. They want to make the world a better place. They want to go around the world and try to do good things to solve our most difficult challenges. Things that they can't even imagine today are going to be coming at them tomorrow at an incredible speed. What Women Forward International has done has created an opportunity for me to expose these talented and committed students to a whole new way of looking at issues. They are going to be able to understand the full complexity of the world and the absolute indispensable importance of incorporating a broad, inclusive approach so that women and underrepresented groups, their interests are factored into things like peace negotiations, like long-term stabilization efforts.
Worn many hats, and as I travel all around the world, particularly in the Middle East and Southeast Asia and even parts of East Asia, looking at the various cultures and seeing the discrepancy in that gender gap has made such a difference when it comes to promoting diplomacy efforts, looking at democracy. You see it in every realm whenever women are at the table. Where countries where they're not at the table, you're seeing more, unfortunately, more turmoil. Lack of basic natural resources, believe it or not. And at the end of the day, or even from unfortunately, a security standpoint, you're seeing more levels of extremism where women are not thriving.
Those mindsets, those traditional mindsets, from the top on down, from presidents, from chiefs of state, all the way down to basic policemen and soldiers, mindsets have to be changed. And that means policies, starting at the top, have to be changed, both in governance and in the private sector. They're both equally important.
And placing those students with organizations that are about serving the public good to ensure that women's leadership is fostered and the concerns and perspectives of women are promoted, we know we're going to be able to have a great impact.
You need to understand your own humanity. You need to understand the humanity of the other, whoever the other happens to be, and that even as we push for greater application of technology in the way we pursue conflict, that we need to retain our roots and our humanity.
Art is powerful, it is meaningful, it is thought-provoking. It really is the driver of change. And if we are ever going to change gender equality, we have to turn to the arts.
Women Forward, despite its name, is not about women. It is an action-oriented study program for international relations graduate students, women and men, who want to make their research relevant and bring about progress towards human unity in every field, from security to technology to business to the arts. Women Forward enables students to participate in the work of outside organizations by partnering them with nonprofits, corporations, governments, and multilateral institutions on cutting-edge research that advances women.
So having access to this quality of professionals with the experience and the focus to do this is something that we couldn't have been able to do otherwise. So in that sense, it's been invaluable to our work, our fund, and our business accelerator.
In order for them to continue to succeed and for us as a nation to continue to develop and strengthen, we plan to continue investing in our girls and women. The work of Women Forward International and Qatar are a natural fit because we also believe in the partnership that brings. We have found that amplifying the voices of women and sharing in opportunities to lead doesn't just benefit women, it benefits us all. Through service and continued focus, we can bring resolutions to the problems facing the world.
It is time for real solutions to real-world problems and leadership based on service.
This is how you build global understanding. This is how you can address the issues at its core. This is the way to address peace. Understand us, see where we are, be aware of our aspiration collectively. More than ever now, we need our voices to be heard, because we do not want to go back. Nobody wants to go back.
I am Sarah O'Day, and I joined Women Forward International because I recognize this program to be the diplomacy of the future. Freedom comes in the form of knowledge, and if you know anything about millennials and the succeeding generations, we know too much. As a member of the new generation of international relations students, I have witnessed hope wane in my fellow colleagues. So when I came to Women Forward International, I realized the opportunity we have. The new group of world servers will fulfill their duties when there is a system that honors our natural aspirations. This is our inclination toward the arts. World harmony is on its way, and through Women Forward will it arrive. I would like to now introduce one of our clients, Rocio Cavazos, founder and managing partner at the Ananda Group, an investment fund that supports entrepreneurs in the plant-based industry. Our collaboration with Rocio, the Inter-American Development Bank, and the Aspen Network of Development Entrepreneurs, ANDE, in Mexico is an example of how the roadmap toward unity among nations ought to be structured. I now present Rocio Cavazos.
Thank you so much, Sarah. It's so wonderful to be here with you today. I want to thank Dr. Kent Davis-Packard, Women Forward International, and the Aspen Institute for the opportunity to be here sharing this with you today. I'd like to tell you a little bit about what we do at the Ananda Group. We invest in entrepreneurs who are empowering consumers to adopt an ethical, healthy, environmentally conscious, and compassionate lifestyle without the use of animals. We invest in and support businesses that are making plant-based choices available to consumers across Mexico. Ananda Group was created and is led by women to invest in a sector where 3/4 of the businesses are women-owned and women-led. We seek to provide entrepreneurs with specific support they need to make their businesses succeed and grow. As a mission-driven sector with predominant business participation, there are certainly specific needs to be addressed and types of support which can make the difference for these entrepreneurs and their businesses to truly thrive and fulfill their purpose. Women Forward has been a key ally in understanding the needs and the aspirations of women entrepreneurs that we aim to support, as well as in developing the effective structures and services to address those needs and to help them successfully pursue their dreams. Through Women's Forward's highly focused and professional work, including documentary research, expert interviews, and field research directly with women entrepreneurs, they have provided us with invaluable insight into the reality of these women, their goals, and the contribution they are seeking to make in the world. They have allowed us to understand the challenges and the limitations these women face and to determine the most effective ways to empower them to overcome those challenges. Based on Women Forward International's recommendations, we are now in the process of creating a plant-based sector association to act as a network, providing connections, a platform for mutual support, cross-learning, industry information, and training. Thanks to the learnings about women's needs and life structures, we are designing services that are women and family friendly. For example, with flexibility of schedule in mind, we are working to launch an online plant-based entrepreneurs training platform where members of the community can access a wide range of business courses as well as content that is of specific value to the sector we work with. As a small team at Ananda, we would not have the time and resources to conduct the research, collect input from experts and entrepreneurs, and distill it into actionable recommendations that can truly make a difference for our target population and sector. We could not have done this without the support of Women Forward. The sector we work with is aiming to create a new definition of business success based on an ethical, environmentally conscious, and compassionate model, which by definition aims for the greater good. And we are convinced that it is not a coincidence that it is comprised by women in its majority. What is at stake here is nothing less than the continuity and advancement of humanity. Never before had we, humanity, faced a crisis of the current dimensions. Scientists have been crying out to warn us that we have 11 years to prevent irreversible damage from climate change. These are no longer times for incremental adjustments. We need quantum leaps and major changes in consumption and lifestyles. We have all been experiencing how temperatures keep rising and how natural disasters are becoming more frequent and more devastating. We all very recently watched in horror how incredibly vast areas of forest in South America were burning down, with more than 90,000 active fires. It didn't feel like a coincidence that the lungs of the planet, so crucial to life on Earth, are named after one of the strongest feminine archetypes, the Amazon. Our mother is coming forth and making ever louder and clearer statements of what we need to address urgently, swiftly, and effectively. More than ever before in recorded history, it is imperative for feminine principles of nourishment, empathy, caring, regeneration, and a long-term view to take on their rightful place in the way we run our society, our businesses, our economy, our governments, our world. We have no time left to procrastinate, and no excuse will be nearly good enough when we are held accountable by the younger generations and we are asked, what did you do to avert the environmental catastrophe? Did you change the way you ate, how you transported yourself, what and how much you consumed? With all the options available today, is making adjustments in our daily lives really such a sacrifice? And is there even a point of comparison, between the level of inconvenience to modify our daily choices and the forewarned consequences of indifference and apathy? We are all able to contribute to the Sustainable Development Goals, either as investors, as donors, as researchers, and most definitely through our conscious choices as consumers every day. At Ananda, our mission is to support those who are actively empowering consumers to take on this historical responsibility by taking action. We can all contribute to goals such as zero hunger, good health and well-being, clean water and sanitation, responsible consumption and production, clearly climate action, life below water, life on land, and of course, gender equality. Our mother is calling us to action. How will we respond? And with that question in our minds and hearts, it is now my pleasure to present a message from the United Nations regarding our partnership and Women Forward International's vital role in contributing to the Sustainable Development Goals. Thank you.
Good afternoon, distinguished participants. Ken, thank you very much for the invitation to participate in the launching of the Women's Forward International, AFI. On behalf of the United Nations, the Institute for Training and Research, the arm of the United Nations in capacity building in the implementation of the Sustainable Development Goals. I am very honored for the invitation to be participating in this event. Raising out of the ashes is of paramount importance, and I hope to raise awareness on the most important issues related to the women's agenda in the framework of the Sustainable Development Goal of the United Nations. We hope that we will continue to contribute with you and to enhance your programs, and I'll be very pleased and very honored in the future to be among you and to, in a personal basis, contribute to your work.
It's now my pleasure to introduce Sarah El-Sadi, diplomat from the Embassy of the State of Qatar, with whom we've been working to build this program.
Thank you, Dr. Kent, for the introduction. As most of you, I'm sure, are aware, Dr. Kent has been leading this initiative at Aspen and has dedicated significant energy to make sure that this important project can make a difference. Dr. Kent, the way that you have championed this cause is inspiring to me, and I'm sure you have inspired many others to continue to find ways to uplift one another. Thank you for your commitment to this project. It is even more inspiring to look out into the crowd and see so many others who understand just how important it is to bring about change. Through partnerships, we can make a difference in the lives of women all over the world and give the opportunities to students and institutions to make a contribution to this tide of change. In Qatar, women play an active role in politics, mediation, national security, and many other fields. This is by design. Over the course of the last years, we have taken active steps to ensure that this diversity in leadership is present, because it lends itself to a diversity in perspectives. It has informed our approach and has changed the way we address challenges at home, in the region, and across the world. The work to ensure that women's voices are heard is far from over in Qatar, the US, and across the globe. There are still challenges to contend with, and we are ready to address them. We are proud to be the founding donor to the Women Forward International program and to work with their unique approach to address these global challenges. It is my hope that we all leave tonight inspired by this art, company, and initiative to challenge the status quo. I've met many brilliant people here tonight. If we remain steadfast in our dedication in empowering women and make working together to achieve this a priority, we can make a difference. Thank you and have a wonderful evening.
Thank you, Sarah. I would now like to present the first woman ambassador from Afghanistan to the United States. I am told that she's on her way up right now, and so if we could just wait a few minutes in silence and maybe think about today, September 11th, and those who died that day, and that we are now at a place where we can rise out of the ashes together, and just give her a moment to come. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Ambassador Roya Rahmani.
So sorry for me.
It's actually perfect timing.
Thank you. Distinguished guests, Dr. Kent, Mr. Altani, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum, and a very good evening to all of you. I hope I haven't kept you waiting here because since I am back a few days ago from my beloved country, it has been a very busy schedule. But it's really wonderful to see you all here. It's my great honor to be addressing this very august gathering of people who care and do things related to education, arts, policy, governance, and whatnot. Or in other words, all the people who are working towards peace and peaceful coexistence. In the words of one of the pioneers and scholars in the field, John Glanting, peace building is the process of creating self-supporting structures that remove causes of war and offer alternatives to war in situations where war might occur. It's not possible to remove the causes of war or provide alternatives without including women in the process. I'm not saying this because women are tending to be the causes of wars most of the time. It is because women happen to be affected the most in the cases of wars. It's quite common for women to become targets of various kinds of physical violence, lose family member, and face a number of serious issues such as limited mobility, limited access to education, healthcare, and even face an increase in rates of domestic violence as an indirect impact of the wars. Research shows that participation of civil society groups, including women organizations, make a peace agreement 64% more likely to succeed, and 35% more likely to last at least 15 years. This is significant because most peace deals usually face a relapse in the first 5 years. Women who participate in the peace process are usually focused less on spoils of war and are more focused on reconciliation, economic development, transitional justice, which constitute the crucial elements of sustained peace. The role of Afghan women in peace process is no exception to these global patterns. Afghan women have played an active role in the peace-building processes in Afghanistan. They have taken part in both in bottom-up and top-down peace-building processes, and their participation have proven day in and day out to be active, substantial, effective, and by no means symbolic. Since the establishment of the unity government, President Ghani has been focused on two major priorities: creating long-term sustainable peace, promoting women to participate fully in the society. We know that these two goals go hand in hand. Women have a critical role to play in all that goes into peacemaking, peace building, and peace management. President Ghani has actively promoted inclusion of women. Today we have 4 female ministers, 11 deputy ministers, and 4 women ambassadors, including myself. The percentage of women in our parliament today compares to that of Canada. Since 2001, more than 100,000 women in rural areas have been elected to serve as their community's representative on community development councils. And women today comprise 28% of the civil service in Afghanistan. During the past 4 years, the number of women appointed to decision-making positions within the government has been unprecedented in our history. Last year, for the first time ever, we administered examination for civil servant positions in which 11 districts of Kabul were to find their deputy district, heads of the deputy heads for the deputy districts of positions. The applicants who received the highest grade would become deputy heads of district. When the results came, 9 out of 11 applicants who scored the highest were young women. Last fall, all these women were appointed. Now let's think for a moment. What does that mean? Firstly, it means that there is a real desire to be a civil servant. Secondly, it means that there was enough faith in the fairness and integrity of the exam that it was worth taking. Thirdly, the fact that these women, these very young women, were actually appointed is a dramatic and to me deeply encouraging indication that Afghans are embracing democracy and Afghanistan is beginning to fulfill its potential. It's not only women's presence within the government that has made a difference. Today we have women orchestras, we have female paragliders and volleyball players. Afghan girls are going to school and starting businesses. As you may know, on April 29, President Ghani opened a National Ground Council to elicit a national framework for a peace process that can be backed by national vision. This time, it was termed the Peace Lawyer Jirga, which is a term for Grand Council at the national level. I was very honored to attend this council. Over 3,200 delegates from all 34 provinces of Afghanistan were represented there. 30% of them were women. I was extremely impressed by the concrete proposal that people were bringing to the table. However, what really struck me the most was feeling safe walking around the council tent at 11 p.m., a space mostly occupied by men. There has been a revolutionary change in the degree to which the physical presence of women is tolerated within the public spaces in Afghanistan. This may not resonate with those who have never experienced the silencing and repression that came with being a woman under an extremist regime. But this shift has opened up immeasurable possibilities for the future. As Afghan women reclaim public spaces, they are showing us just how true Martin Luther King observation was when he noted that true peace is not merely the absence of tension, it's the presence of justice. Justice cannot prevail should half of the population be denied of their rights. Let me share another story that illustrates how art communities has fostered positive environment for change and inclusivity. An organization named Turquoise Mountain Foundation started working in Afghanistan in 2006 with a mission of spurring sustainable development of Afghanistan craft industry. Over years, the organization has trained graduates and hundreds of artisans and traditional artists. The organization now has stepped up and works with the high-end markets, trying to secure commissions and then pass it on to the artist communities. In one of these such instances, when the Anjum Hotel, a 5-star hotel in Mecca, Saudi Arabia, commissioned a project which was worth $120,000 for a calligraphy project. The leadership of the organization gathered 5 Afghan calligraphy gurus, all senior men, and explained to them what the project was about. They were also asked, in order to deliver to this project, they must choose a leader among themselves to whom the entire project would be awarded, and this person would be responsible for allocating resources, paying salaries, and choosing what needed to be done. The men had a little side discussion in the corner and came back. And the result of their discussion was that they chose Samira Ketman, a 22-year-old female student that had graduated the year before, that was trained by them as their leader. Samira was the one who got the project and started paying her teachers for the work. The woman managed to deliver 300 pieces of art for this 5-star hotel within 6 months. In addition to that, she managed to establish her business and recruit 20 other fellows of her to be working with her, continuously producing to the next commissions, as well as producing stock for the local market. This is peace building in practice. Small, steady steps, providing hope and opportunities to the members of society, especially the youth. President Ghani's commitment to making space for women within government and other civic spaces has helped set the tone for our nation. However, as he noted during his remark at the side of the peace jirga speaking to women groups, women have gotten there through their own efforts and competence. All government has done, he said, is observe and respect Constitution, which guarantees women equal rights as citizens. If trusting in women leadership has been a wise move, observing and respecting Constitution has been crucial. Today, the people have made clear that they embrace inclusion and democracy as a key component to Afghanistan's journey towards self-reliance, prosperity, and peace. Safeguarding the continuity of the democratic processes through elections and continued reform will be imperative if we are to consolidate the trust of the people in the progress that has been made, and to keep them invested in the prospects of long-term peace and sustainable peace. The past 2 weeks I spent in Afghanistan, the biggest demand of Afghan women was holding a timely, free, and fair elections, which is scheduled later this month. This is because they believe that it is only through democracy and constitutional order that can continue to secure their place and be as active agents of peace buildings and not as victims of war. I thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Ambassador Rahmani. So good to see you this evening. Hello, everyone. My name is Wesley Spencer. As Kent informed you, I am the Director of Arts Partnerships for Women Forward International. And I am just really honored to be here tonight because I'm honored to be working for an initiative that recognizes art as something beyond the aesthetic. We understand the role that it can play in making the world a safer and more equitable and harmonious place. Through the work of Women Forward International, we are able to bring artists to the forefront, allowing them to share their voices with you and perhaps help you decide how you can make tomorrow a better day. Tonight, I am so very pleased to introduce to you all an extraordinary artistic voice. Her name is Nada O'Day. She is a visual artist, poet, and curator. She is also from Syria. Nada came to the United States in 2013 after fleeing her country during revolution. Since coming to the U.S., Nada has graduated with a master's degree in museum studies from Syracuse University. Her art is poignant and thought-provoking, and while the stories she tells may be difficult, she shows us there is a way through these challenges to a brighter tomorrow. So please join me in giving Nada a warm welcome.
Trying to figure out. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for coming tonight, and I would like to thank all the people who collaborated to make this possible, because I think it's very important. I would like to thank Dr. Kent and Wesley as well. and also the ambassador of Afghanistan. Thank you so much. I was really moved by what you said. It's very important, you know, having more voices of women. But today, I'm gonna tell you about myself. So my name is Nara Ode. I'm 20, like since I was 3 years old, I started drawing and doing artwork, and my mom encouraged me to do that. But today I thought art, since 2013, I thought art is very important to show like an important message, especially with what's happening right now in Syria. So Syria is the land of religions and the land of cultures, and where everything was born and the story of Adam and Eve started. And this is the images that I saw every day when I was there, like the colors of the sky and the Arabic houses, the Islamic calligraphy, the Arabic calligraphy, and the beautiful cultural buildings that you see. So this is where I was raised, and my most memories were, or very clear memories, when my dad took me and my sister to like evening trips in Damascus, all Damascus, to see the city after everyone is gone. And we heard the sound of silence, whereas no one is there, but we saw the historical sites, and all those images just go around in my head every night, and that's how I think I miss home. Damascus is my city, and this is where I was born. And this is like historical sites of Damascus. So I started the collection of artwork called Damascus with Love. And it's like everything, every time something happens in Syria, I start sketching a beautiful sketch from Damascus, just showing, like, keep and publish it on my Facebook page and say Damascus with Love. And I created a hashtag, Damascus with Love, just to show like Damascus will survive, you know, because it's my city. So. Sorry. And this is my dad, and this is me while I was a child. My hair was blonde, so not anymore. And this is like in the countrysides of Damascus. And my dad was a great person and humorous, but also a very loving person. He taught me and my sister how to love and how to give love to the people around us, even if they do not love back. It's very relaxing way of living, because when you love, there's positive energy coming inside you, and there's nothing else. All the hate, all the anger just go away, and those are the things that pull you down and makes you very heavy and unable to achieve anything. Syria wanted revolution, and I say Syrian wanted freedom, but today things flipped, and I don't know if we have freedom now, but there's no freedom, of course. We wanted to bring change to our country because we thought Syria deserved to be a better country, but like our regime was holding us. And this is the Syrian revolution flag, and I think it's very important to show it because we tried to do something different, but things, as I said, flipped. That's not. So part of loving people and being peaceful with myself and my family and my kids. So I also started to help collecting donations to be sent to refugee camps, and that was in 2012. And when I saw what people donated to be sent to the refugee camps, I felt like so upset and angry, you know, and I'm filled with anger. How can they send this clothing to people in camps? Do people in camps do not deserve to wear proper clothing? So I took my anger and collected it, and I transformed it into art, which is, it was very helpful. And I created this series of paintings called Royalty in Refugee Camp. I am a princess. Was the start, and this is a very important piece to me. And it's like my firstborn painting child. I have 2 kids, but this is my painting child, especially in this series. And this is a small girl. She lives in a camp, and she's like any other girl who lives in a house or anywhere in the world. And she is also entitled to dream and to think that she can be a princess. So every day she runs in the camp, like holding her tiara and saying, I am a princess. And this is how any girl in the world would like to do. Like, you know, I have a daughter and she used to do something like that. But I'm fortunate not to be to go to a camp. But what if things flipped and we were not able to live in regular houses? Like, it's not like you do not choose to be displaced. And that's why I wanted people to have the closer experience and understand that being a refugee is not a choice. It's something that you go through and you have to do it because there's no other choice. So this is a start of paintings that I created. As I said, the anger didn't hold me down or didn't hold me back, but I transformed my anger into love. And I thought why I shouldn't light a candle instead of cursing the darkness, instead of being like negative and just go around and like hating everyone and why the world is doing this to me. No, I want to be a very positive person and try to, to reflect the positive energy and do something more, like, more productive, more powerful, so people can understand what Syrians and what Syrian women and children and men are going through today. So. The cellist. This is a piece where I thought, like, I was also upset from some people who use like their fame. They use the refugees to become famous, but at the same time, everyone is paying attention to them and forgetting the refugees. And the refugees are always under the stage or in the shadow or the darkness. So I am Syria. It's 2015 when ISIS started. It's before that. And I wanted to show the world, like, I am born and raised in Syria, and ISIS do not belong to us. I've never been something that belonged to Syrians, because Syria is, as I said, the land of religions and culture. And that's how I was raised. I was raised in a city where Muslims, Christians, Jews, atheists all live together, live peacefully and able to collaborate. In 2015, I wanted to, like, there was a protest in Detroit, and the city of Aleppo in Syria was being bombed, and there's lots of things happening there. And I wanted to be part of the protest. So we went out, and I designed this poster. And what's written in Arabic means freedom. And I wanted to focus on freedom, because freedom for me, there's 2 types of freedom. Freedom of tyranny and dictatorship, and also freedom as a woman. And freedom as a woman does not mean to me just like go around and do whatever I want. Freedom means being able to educate myself and help others get educated. And there is also, like, this is one of the exhibits. I've been in New York Public Library, and I thought it's very inspiring to see, like, you say you want a revolution, and that exhibit, like, affected me a lot, because it talks about in the 1960s how many groups wanted freedom from different things, and the same here in my country and myself as a woman. I think I was really lucky as a Syrian woman because in 2016 I applied to complete my master's degree, and I wanted to pursue master's degree in museum studies. So I applied for a scholarship through an organization called Jusur, and they have a program for women called 100 Syrian Women, 10,000 Lives. And the 100 Syrian women who are selected in this program have leadership qualities, and they gonna help as we say, like each woman help like lots of people to grow and to benefit. And this is the picture is in the dean at the New York University. And I think that was like our first annual meeting, and it was a very beautiful meeting. So we didn't know each other, and we met, and that was a very inspiring moment. This is our second annual meeting at the United Nations building, and I'm so proud of the women who were selected in those programs. All of them, half of them completed their master's degrees. Some of them, they earned their PhDs, and we are almost 30 women, Syrian women, who are supported by Jusur to be able to complete our studies, and helping Jusur to grow as well. In 2018, I was selected as the Syracuse Poster Project artist, and this is the unveiling event. So I created a poster or design poster on Adobe Photoshop, if you guys know it. Adobe Photoshop is a very useful program. So the thing is, like, they want me as a new person in America or a displaced person to design something that represents the city of Syracuse as a welcoming place. And I did. I designed like this boat with the newspapers in it. It's part of newspapers that tells the story of Aylan, the Kurdish boy, Syrian Kurdish boy who was found on the beaches of Turkey. And I wanted the people, and it's written in different languages, in German, English, and other languages. And the people are celebrating, like, you know, being able to arrive safely to the lands. And you see people are dancing. And I wanted to take this photo because I felt like we're all dancing to be safe somewhere. 2018 as well. This is I graduated from Syracuse University, and all graduates, they decorate their, you know, thing, what I know what it's called. Yeah. So, yeah, I wanted the hooding ceremony, and I wanted people to see that. And my professors were like, you know, they loved it so much. And while they're putting this like regalia and stuff like that, they were laughing so much, and they hugged me a lot because they think it's very important to be proud today to be a Syrian woman graduating from graduate program. Asylum in 2018 as well. This is a piece reflects my my travel with my two kids. Like our bags are there. These are like illustration of our real bags, and this is 4 small pieces that I thought I wanted people to understand. I didn't get here easily. There was lots of trips. This is like how you see there's a long road where I'm now, right now, here in the safe land. And I was, a newspaper that talked about my exhibit in one of the Syracuse Gallery's 914 works. And the Frida in me, Frida Kahlo is a great artist, and she's not only a great female artist, but she's a very important voice for everyone. And I wanted to show the world, like, it's true. It's now, it's 2018, but we are going through similar things that happened in 1930, when there was lots of discrimination, and women sometimes didn't have voice, like at that time. But today we have voices, but still there's a lot of complications happening. My mom was supposed to come to my graduation in 2018, but her visa was rejected, and she was not able to come because she's Syrian. And that's why I created this piece and I called it Muslim Band, because I thought it's very upsetting that she wanted to celebrate with her daughter and to see her doing, like, achieving something that she was very proud of, but at the same time she was banned. And I think what affected me the most is when I heard her voice after rejection, and she was crying a lot. And yeah, sorry. Yeah, so it's kind of, it's a lot of things in my life, and this is an introduction of who I am. But today, I want to also to read two poems that I think are kind of a reflection of what's going on in my life. Poetry, I don't know if I plan to be an artist, but I didn't plan to be a poet, but it happened because I wanted to write things about myself, and I didn't want to write a book. I wanted to write something very symbolic and very quick, you know, and very simple, and people can enjoy it. So I wrote this poem back in 2014, and there was lots of incidents about colored boys who were captured by policemen, and how I was surprised about the amount of racism that I was not expecting in America. So, sorry. Yeah. A boy was killed for the color of his skin. Dark chocolate is my favorite. What a wonderful dream. Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, all struggled to live a decent life with one color called humanity. This color is not to be mistaken in a crowd of heartful being. Unless there is a riot, life will never be the same. I traveled across the oceans to a country that has a dream, to never discriminate people and live a peaceful dream. I was looking for freedom in a country so called to be free. I left my country. It was filled with injustice, running away from bloody deeds, looking for shelter in a faraway dream. Now I'm wondering, do Americans accept these deeds? I'm sure deep inside they are human beings. Syria is my love, and so is Martin Luther King. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. My second poem, and it's inspired by rising out of the ashes. And when Dr. Kent told me, she was talking to me, and she asked me to read a poem. And I wanted to write something for this event because I think it's very important. And then suddenly I was like looking into written words about rising from ashes. And I read this beautiful poem by Maya Angelou, which I really respect. It's an amazing poet and activist. And those are the best. So it's called I Rise. I rise from ashes. I bury the moments that brought me pain in a box, in a glass ball, and I try to entertain. From ashes I rise, the dirt on my shoulder. Your smile requests much more than a holder. A cup belongs to me, is filled with pain. Salter than the sea, my tears are, no refrain. But the space between my soul and my heart is filled with stain. I heard many voices whispering the pain of my late achievements and the dancing drops of rain. Nada is my Arabic name. Dewdrops in the morning it means, but nothing in Spain. It seems to be hilarious, but sometimes it's pain. Hear, hear to women who always dance under the rain. They belong to the earth and the skies, either cloudy or plain. They rose from ashes, went in life, wore their shoes, put a lipstick, but still managed to sustain, to embrace every moment, try to bury their pain, add love to their lives, no restraint. Thank you.
Add love to our lives, no restraint. I want to thank everyone, our speakers, Ambassador Rahmani, Sarah Al-Sadi, the Embassy of the State of Qatar. Thank you, Nada Ode, our poet, Rocio Cavazos, Wesley, Sarah, our singers, and all of you today for your solidarity in our mission to bring love and maturity back into diplomacy and to advance women, to advance humanity. Together here today, we launch Women Forward International purely and simply for the sake of love, because love liberates. Please feel free to join us in this song, a song we've never sung before together. The words by the well-known John Wesley are on the back of your programs. And then enjoy and celebrate at our reception with a little bit of live music. Oh, can we do that one more time? Neil, can you cue me? Purely, simply, learn to love for the sake of love. Purely, simply, learn to love for the sake of love.
Purely, simply, learn to
love
for the sake
of love.
Simply, learn to love for the sake of love.
It can never be too early or too late to
learn to live
for no sake. It can never be too early to live
for love's sake.
Love you can, by all the means you can, in all the ways you can, in all the places you can, give all the love you can, at all the times you can, to all the people you can, as long as ever you can. Be a living expression of love's kindness, kindness in your face,
Kindness in your eyes,
kindness in your smile, kindness in your smile.
give all the love
Give all the love you can,
all the
by all the means you can, in all the ways you can,
in all the places you can.
Give all the love you can, at all the times you can, to the people you can, as long as ever you can. Okay, audience, this is your turn. All the love you can, at all the times you can, to all the people you can, as long, that's how it goes, as ever you can.
Give all the love you can.
Give all the love you can, at all the times you can, to all the people you can, as long as ever you can.
Give all the love you can.
Give all the love you can, at all the times you can, to all the people you can. Give all the love you can, at all the times you can,
To all the people you can give all the love.
Kindness in your peace, kindness in your smile, all the love you can. Kindness in your peace, kindness in your smile, kindness in your smile, all the love you can. For love's sake, love for love's sake, people love's live so love for love's sake, love for love's sake, love for love's sake, you are love's so love for love's sake, love for love's sake, love for love's sake, you love's live so love for love's sake, love for
Give
love's
all
sake,
the love
love
you
for
can
love's
at all the
sake,
times you
you love's live
can.
so
To
love
all
for
the
love you
people
can,
you can
love for
give
love's
all
sake,
the love you
love for
can
love's
at
sake,
all the
people
times you
love's
can.
live so
To all
love
the
for
people
love's
you
sake,
can
love for
give all
love's
the
sake,
love you
love for
can
love's
at all the
sake.
times you can.
Thank you for joining
To all
us,
the
and
people you
please
can give
welcome
all
to
the
our
love you
reception
can at
and
all the
celebrate
times you can.
today, Rising Out of the
To
Ashes,
the
the launch
people
of
you
Women
can
Forward
give
International.
all the love you
For
can
love's
at
sake,
all the
he
times
who
you
loves
can.
lives so
To
love
all the
for
people
love's
you
sake,
can
love
give
for
all
love's sake,
the love.
love